So after I made my video about Soviet cartoons, I got a request from a viewer to review some North Korean cartoons. And given that most people are at least somewhat interested in North Korea, this is just an opportunity that I could not pass up. So I started my research where I always do, Wikipedia. It turns out that North Korea has a single animation studio called Scientific Education Korea, or SEK for short. And besides making cartoons just for their own country, they've provided animation for other projects as well, such as episodes for the Pocahontas TV show and the Lion King TV show, as well as providing animation for the infamous Tentacolino. In fact, the director is someone by the name of Kim Jun-ok, which is a pseudonym if I ever saw one. But the real kicker is when I went to IMDb. Apparently, they've also provided animation work for Futurama, Bender's Big Score, The Simpsons movie, and an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And when I found that out, my brain exploded. Anyway, now that that's all been brought to your attention, let's talk about North Korean cartoons. Starting with this. Apparently, the title translates to Pencil Artillery Shells. It's about a kid who's having trouble with his geometry homework, so he gets, let's just say distracted. The kid falls asleep and has a dream where his compass becomes a launch pad for his pencils as artillery shells, and he uses his protractor to figure out the angle of trajectory. Being that this is a North Korean cartoon, this dream involves fighting off an invading American army. And to top it all off, we get a nice song to go along with it.
U.S. forces give the nod. It's a setback for your country.
Okay, that's obviously not the song that they actually play, but it'd be pretty funny if they did, right? Anyway, since the kid doesn't know how to use a protractor properly, he ends up losing the war. And when he wakes up, he has a friend show him how protractors actually work. And that's pretty much the end. That's one way to get kids to do their math, I guess. Okay, so what else are we going to look at today? This one is called Rubber Ball. It's about a kid who gets his dodgeball dirty one day at the park. After cleaning it at home, he decides to wash his hands, but he doesn't use the soap. And yeah, they got a Toy Story-like thing going on where everything comes to life around them. Anyway, after a lovely North Korean meal with his mom, she ends up having to leave to go to work, leaving him to snack on whatever he wants to eat. Eventually, he decides to eat an apple but gets really sick, and I think we all know the reason for that.
Fake carrots. Fake fruit. Fake. Fake. You liar!
Actually, Mr. Microscope discovers that the kid's hands just got contaminated because he didn't wash them properly. And I understand the importance of good hygiene, but that just means that this cartoon's implying that North Koreans have weak immune systems. At least that's the way I see it. But anyway, the toys work together to alert someone to get the kid some help. So his mother comes home, and thanks to the magic of the internet, she's able to show what will happen if you don't use soap to wash your hands. The boy learns his lesson and lives happily ever after. This was by far the most ridiculous of the cartoons that I found, but I found it pretty refreshing that it was about something other than destroying America, you know? Unless they put something in the dialogue, because again, I can't speak Korean. So the next cartoon is called Squirrel and Hedgehog. And just like Pencil Artillery Shells, the animation is so crap it looks like it's from the 70s. Oh wait, it actually is from the 70s. Anyway, this is another show about fighting off an invading army, only this time I'm not quite sure if it's an American army or not. Because there's no explicit imagery to imply that the enemies are American. In fact, some of them actually wear white flags on their helmets, which is about the stupidest thing you can do in a war. Even though this is military propaganda, I still found it to be surprisingly violent. I mean, they shoot people, they choke people, and they even break a few necks here and there. In terms of cartoon violence, this show's a goldmine. Now the last one I want to talk about is called Boy Emperor. It's about a guy fighting off invading Chinese and Japanese armies sometime around 500 AD. Man, those North Koreans sure like to fight off invading armies, don't they? Anyway, there were originally 50 episodes of this cartoon, starting off in the 80s and ending around 1997. But it has proven so popular that Kim Jong-un recently had it rebooted, showing that the power and influence of cartoons cannot be denied anywhere in the world. At least that's the way I see it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're interested in watching any of these cartoons, they can all be found on YouTube. In fact, there are even more cartoons that I didn't even talk about on this list, so if you find one that you like in particular, then let me know. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. This is a product of our great society.